You know, I have to admit that I feel like that Fox News has just stabbed me in the back. They have stabbed us all in the back. Fox News, I am so close to stop listening to them because they every single article. I look at every single article, and it's nothing but liberal diatribe. They are apologizing. I mean, it's like the Romneyites, it's like the McCains have taken over Fox News, and it's gone back to the way it was back in 2012 and 2008, 2008 and 2012. It's absolutely driving me nuts. This is one of the reasons that I, from time to time, tuned out and stopped listening to the media, because obviously the rhinos of the party, the weak, the spineless idiots of the Republican Party seem to take over, and they take the podium. Donald Trump, by being silent during this time for a very good strategic reason, a very good reason, is positioning himself with the courts and with the electors so that he can reach, so that he can make sure that he keeps the White House for the next 4 years. In his absence, of course, all we get are these idiots like Romney and Kasich and Mike. I mean, I'm not Mike. I always say Mike Wallace. I meant Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace is an idiot. I cannot stand him. And just the other night, Judge Janine was canceled for the weekend because she was going to come out as a pro-Trump advocate, that he's going to stay in. I mean, Fox News has fully taken the throttle of the idea that Biden is going to be president of the United States, and of course his whore, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is nothing but a filthy whore, and that's all she'll ever be. Anyway, so. Hello and welcome to BarbWire Strategy. Last night I did a voiceover for the beginning of my morning election report film, and tonight I'm doing the second voiceover for the second part. I just wanted to mention real quick that not a whole lot has changed, even though I recorded all of this 2 days after the election, and now tonight, it's Sunday, October the 9th, 2020. Everything that I said in the film is exactly what I would say if I was recording it now. The only thing is that I believe that what's coming next are two parts. I think there's two things going on, though, that I want to mention real quick in this audio part. I think, number one, that President Trump is going in, he's setting the courts up, he's setting up all of the parameters, he's going to prove all the cases where fraud and criminal activity has taken place on the Democrats' part, and he's doing all of this so he can prove to the electors, because you see the legislators are going to put the electors in place. They have to do this by December, I believe December the 14th, if I'm not wrong about that. And then the electors can decide on their own how they're going to vote. And if they can see that this treasonous act has gone on and the voters' rights have been violated by all of this falsified balloting going on from the Democrats, then they will conclude and vote for our president, Donald Trump. I do believe that this is what's going to happen. I can see the strategy now before me. The fact that the media is not covering anything about it and they're going along with this idiot parade that Biden's going to be president, it absolutely is revolting and just makes you want to vomit. Anyway, let's get on with the show. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be recording another morning report here pretty soon, probably in the next couple of days. But I also am going to continue to work on my justice films, my Supreme Court justice films. I've got, in all, I had 14 of them. I've done 2 of them, so we've got 12 more to do. So, but in between those, I'll be interrupting with these morning reports. And I've got a few other videos, too, that I've wanted to do that are non-political. But let's get on with the show, and I hope you enjoy it. This is Colonel Jim Ed Love. We'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye. Okay, number 4, and that is that Donald Trump needs to hit this thing in the courts, and he is. John Roberts just needs to step aside and allow these cases to come in on their own merit, and there's going to be a bunch of them, folks. Let me tell you. I mean, this is going to be like something we have never seen before, and I predicted that this election was going to go all the way to inauguration. It's going to go right on into January. Now, I hope it doesn't, but I predict that it very well might. And this brings me to my 5th point. But before I go on to my 5th point, let me go back to number 3. And that is, I wanted to say that mail-in ballots, there's a distinguishment here between absentee ballots, which is used by State Department officials and military people, and just plain old people in the United States that They take the time to order an absentee ballot. They fill out the right paperwork. They receive it in the mail. It's all certified. It goes back. Now, that's fine. I don't have any problem with mail-in ballot. As you were, the absentee ballots. But I do have a huge problem with these mail-in ballots. But my point is that all of these mail-in ballots allow a great deal of fraud. And the Democrats know this, and that's what they want. They want to commit fraud because they know that they can't get the American people to go along with things. Why is it that the Democrats don't do things the right way? And the right way would be to get constitutional amendments for all the things they want, like homosexual marriage or health care for all, or all of these insane ideas that the Democrats want to do. Why don't they just do it the right way? I mean, the founding fathers left you a path. They said very clearly, look, you can do an amendment to the Constitution. You can include anything you want. Just make it an amendment. Well, the reason the Democrats don't do that is because they know the American people will never stand for it. They will repudiate things like homosexual marriage. They will repudiate health care for all, because there's nothing in the Constitution about providing health care for millions of people in the United States, no matter how much they think they need it or they want it, or if they think that the government should provide it or not provide it. The bottom line is that we have to follow the Constitution, and the Constitution does not have anything in there on health care. I'm getting off track. I realize that. Okay, so number 5. This is number 5. Part 5 of this is pretty simple and pretty short, but I've got a little scenario I'm going to run through with you at the end of number 5, and that is what I think is going to happen in the future, I think in the long term. Number 5 is that President Trump, does not need to leave the White House under any circumstance. I don't mean physically leave. I mean he does not need to relinquish his office as President of the United States. I would encourage him, I would encourage any of his followers listening to this, that I don't care what the election results are, because whatever they are going to be falsified by the Democrats. The Democrats are out to not just steal the election in the sense that, oh, so-and-so stole the race. They won the beauty pageant, or they ran the fastest in the foot race. No. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about stealing the race. We're talking about actual corruption. We're talking about the Democrats are out to slice the throats of all of the Americans. Let's face it, Democrats hate America. They hate everything that America stands for, because you know what? The Democrats are being used as a tool. I should say that it's not Democrats. When I speak badly about Democrats, I'm not necessarily talking about individual people who vote Democrat. Most of those people are lemmings. They're following the Pied Piper of the Democrat Party in their leadership. The Democratic Party has been taken control of by the puppet masters. The puppet masters who are globalists. They're looking for the Great Reset, which I've got here in my little chart that I'm going to talk about. But the bottom line here is that these globalists want to destroy America. So my advice is that Donald Trump does not leave the office under any circumstances. And yes, does that break our traditions? Does that break the way we've done things in the past? Absolutely. But just like it was important for Caesar to cross the Rubicon, which if I'd been alive during that time and I'd been in Caesar's army, I would have encouraged Caesar to cross the Rubicon and go into Rome with his soldiers. He had no choice. And I would encourage Donald Trump to do the same. Cross the Rubicon and stay in D.C. Remain the President of the United States and defy the Marxists, the communists, those that call themselves the Democrats, which I wish they would stop calling themselves the Democrats, because I used to be a Democrat. During the election of Harry Truman, I was a Democrat. I would have fought tooth and nail for the Democrats. But these Democrats are Democrats in name only. Pardon me while I put on my spectacles, because here's how I think things will float out in this thing. I believe that Donald Trump has two choices here. He can either surrender or he can fight back. But here's the deal. We end up in the same place whichever way he goes. I believe that if he fights back, then there will be revolt, then there'll be revolts, and those revolts will bring upon martial law and the National Guard. Donald Trump will have to do that if the kind of revolts happen the way I think they'll happen. And you're already starting to see some in parts of the country. Then I believe that we're going to have war in the streets.
We're going to have war in the courts, and we're going to have war in Congress. And by that, what I mean is there'll be one impeachment after the next, after the next. They'll just keep throwing it at us. These Democrats, these communists are not going to go away. Eventually, I believe that this will break into a revolution, a second revolution or a second civil war. Of course, I don't think we had a civil war before. I think we had a war of northern aggression. But again, another story. But this would truly be a civil war. And a civil war will bring about a world war. I believe what we're headed for in the long run is a world war. I believe that that's what the Democrats want, tooth and nail. They want a world war. Now, let's take the other side of it. Let's say that Donald Trump, I don't want this, and I don't even like saying this. It disgusts me so much. But let's say he surrenders. Let's say he steps aside and Biden becomes president. Okay, it's the most disgusting thing I can think of, other than maybe Hillary Clinton being president. But that was anyway. I can't stand any of them. If Biden becomes president, then what we're going to end up with is we're going to go through the Great Reset. And if you want to know what the Great Reset is, look it up on the internet. It's the reset of the globalists, and where they reset the currency, they reset our world markets, and they completely strip away our constitutional rights. They're guaranteed to us by God, but they'll strip them away, and they will make us a communist country. I'm telling you. This is what's going to happen. After we go through this Great Reset, then this is going to be a form of communism. Do not think it won't be. This is communism straight, full out. And then if we have any kind of backbone, which I don't have a lot of faith in American people today. I really don't. I drive around these neighborhoods that I live in, and I did a lot of nice homes, really nice, expensive homes, and I see a lot of Biden signs. I see a lot of squishy people, and I have absolutely well, here, the problem is that I have no use for anybody who didn't fight, at least in World War II, or is somewhere of that age. The silent matures at the very least, or the GI matures. But I have no use for the baby boomers. I have no use for the Generation X. And the most worthless generation is these millennials. I cannot stand millennials. They are idiots. Those are your Biden supporters right there. And I see them all the time over here in the neighborhoods where we live. I see these squishy millennials who are voting for Biden, for voting for the communists, and they don't have any idea who or what they're doing to this country. But all of this, if Trump surrenders and we go for the Great Reset, it'll eventually end in a civil war and a revolution and, again, a world war, which is what the Democrats want. So, unfortunately, folks, I don't see any way out of this other than a world war in the end. But we've got a long distance between here and there. I don't know when a world war will be. I will be older than I am now. But nonetheless, I believe that's where it's going to go. But we need to support our president. And so when he stays in office, when he remains in the White House, we need to be willing to stand behind him 100%.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Remember, folks, Donald Trump is our champion. He is our champion president, not this communist son of a bitch. And that's all I have to say for the morning report. Until next time, this is Colonel Jim Ed Love telling you good night, good luck, and this is where you get to hear an ordinary man's extraordinary point of view. We'll see you later on BarbWire Strategy. Bye-bye.